Good evening. That's me when I was still young, so to speak, yeah? As if I'm too old already. I'll maybe say a few words about myself to introduce where I come from, how I got to where we are now, and maybe a few words about breaking the silence. So I'm today 30 years old. This is me when I was 18 years old, 19 years old, more or less. I grew up in Jerusalem. The reason why I have a North American accent when I speak English is because both my parents are from North America. My father is originally from Toronto. My mother is from the States. I grew up in Jerusalem. I was born in Jerusalem, grew up in Jerusalem. I'm a practicing Orthodox Jew. I don't know how much of this means to all of you. I grew up in what you would call the political right in Israel. I did my high school in a settlement in the West Bank, near Ramallah. My sister is a settler in the West Bank today. My cousins used to be settlers in Gaza before the disengagement in 2005. So that's more or less in terms of my personal background. And when I graduated high school, I joined the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces. In Israel, we have a draft. Men serve for 3 years, women for 2 years. If you're in good health condition, you'll be sent to be a combat soldier. And that's what I was. I joined the IDF in March 2001, served for 3 years till March 2004. I was an infantry combat soldier and a commander, and I ended my service as a company sergeant. And this is actually a photo of me and the Wailing Wall. During basic training, when you're a soldier, after a few weeks in the military, 5, 6 weeks, I don't remember exactly, you have this very, very powerful ceremony in the Wailing Wall of swearing loyalty to the army, to the country. So that's me. And even though I come from where I come from, in terms of my political background, meaning coming from the political right in Israel, still throughout my service I had many doubts whether what we're doing is the right thing to do. It was only towards the end of my service, when I was a company sergeant, the last 4, 5, 6 months of my service, a lot of spare time, sat down with myself, started to plan my life afterwards, yeah? 5, 6 months from now, I'm going to become a civilian, start my life as an adult. Who am I? What I want to do when I'll grow up? Which kind of life I want to live? And in a way, for me, that was a turning point. Yeah, this was, in a way, the first second in my adult life that I stopped thinking as a professional combat soldier and started thinking as a civilian. Yeah, it's kind of like the first second you take one step out of the box, look from outside, and suddenly things look very different. Yeah, in a way, it's the second you stop thinking as a professional combat soldier and you start to think as a civilian. I found myself in a place where I lost justification for 90% of actions I took part in. Suddenly, the way I justified things to myself throughout my service didn't make sense anymore. And it is that strong sense that something was wrong that brought me to where I am today. Military logic, military way of thinking says this: if Palestinians will get the feeling that the army is all the time everywhere, they'll be afraid to attack. So what do you do to make them feel this way? You make your presence felt. So what do? You make your presence felt. How does it look like? You have 2 military patrols. One is in charge of the old city of Hebron. The other one is in charge of Palestinian neighborhoods around the old city. And that's their job, to make their presence felt. You start your night shift patrol 10 o'clock till 6 o'clock in the morning, 8-hour shift. Walk in the streets of the old city. Break into a house. It's not a house we have intelligence about. A random house. I'm the sergeant, I lead the patrol. Choose a random house, break into the house, wake up the family. Men one side, women the other side. Search the place. You can yourself imagine the dynamics. What happens when you break into a family, 2 o'clock at night, wake everyone up. Search the place, finish, go out to the street, knock on some doors, make some noise, run to the other corner of the street, invade another house, wake up the family, search, go out, run to the other corner of the old city, another random house. And that's basically how you pass your 8-hour shift. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, From September 2000, when the Second Intifada started, till today, it didn't stop for 1 second. Yeah, the idea is very simple. Every Palestinian needs to feel the military is right here. Yeah, you never know when we're going to show up, when we're going to start, when we're going to end, how many we're going to be, what we're going to do. It's to do what we call in the military, ליצור תחושת נרדפות, to create the feeling of being chased. You know what? One more tactic, and then I'll finish this chapter. I don't know if you've heard this phrase before, or this concept, mock arrest. What is a mock arrest? As it sounds, a fake arrest. What is it? This is actually a tactic that we've been hearing more and more from soldiers who serve in the last 4 or 5 years. Because in the last 4 or 5 years, as opposed to my time in the military, I served in the Second Intifada. Palestinian violence was very serious in the West Bank. But in the last 4 or 5 years, the West Bank is very safe for Israeli soldiers. So we hear more and more of mock arrests. What is a mock arrest? You have a new unit in town. They just finished training. The first time they're deployed. You don't want the first arrest operation they carry out to be the real thing. So you send them on a mock arrest before. You choose the most peaceful, quiet Palestinian village in the area where you served. Open an aerial photo of the village. Choose a random house in the village. Pick up the phone. Call the Secret Service, make sure that the guy living in the house you've chosen randomly is innocent, and that by operating on him, you are not interfering in intelligence gathering operations that the Secret Service has in the area. Once you get the go, meaning he's innocent, and you're not interfering in Secret Service business in the area, you come in the middle of the night, you surround the house, grab the guy, handcuffed, blindfolded, as if it's a real arrest. Put him in a Jeep. After 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, someone goes on the radio, says, end of exercise, stop the Jeep, release the guy, go back to the base, and go to sleep. So you're probably wondering, why the hell to do it? Actually, soldiers who get these orders usually also wonder why the hell we're doing it. We know the guy is innocent, so why we're doing it? And they asked their commanders, and you know what many soldiers heard back? Mainly 2 reasons. One is training. Training is very important. As close training can be to reality, better. So if you can do it on a real Palestinian village, on a real Palestinian house, on a real Palestinian man, better. Makes sense. But the second reason is even more interesting. Think of it, a mock arrest is just another advanced way of making your presence felt. You go in the middle of the night to the village, surround the house, yeah? Some noise, some movement, lights, shouting, military movement in the village, people wake up, they know you're here. They see you're surrounding a house. They see you're arresting a person that they know is innocent. They're not stupid. Yeah, people in the village usually know. So they start to ask questions. Why the hell are you arresting him? He's innocent. But then they see that you released him. So what the hell is going on here? Arrest, released. Is he a collaborator? Yes, no. And they don't find the answers, so they're even more scared. Yeah, because when things are rational, right? When you know what's waiting behind a corner, you can calculate. You can decide whether you want to test, whether you want to obey or disobey, whether you want to take risk. But when you have no idea what's waiting around the corner, that's when you're really terrified, right? Yeah, that's why we actually the name of the first chapter is, we called it Prevention, Intimidating the Palestinian Population. Because when the goal is intimidation, the lack of logic is the perfect logic. Yeah, the lack of order is the perfect order.